Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to this webinar by SecurityHQ. Today, we will walk you through the Managed Detection and Response Azure Sentinel Buyer's Guide that will be delivered to you by Firas Tepuni, our CEO, and myself, the Islam Rashad, Cybersecurity Pre-Sales Consultant within SecurityHQ. Today, we will be covering the following agenda. We'll give you a quick overview on who we are as SecurityHQ as a global MSSP provider, the digital transformation challenges that we are facing nowadays, and the implications of it from a SOC and IR perspective, and how we need to tackle such challenges by building a next-gen SOC and delivering a managed detection response powered by Azure Sentinel in order to tackle such challenges. And finally, moving to reporting the security posture as well, and how we can keep track of your security posture as you keep evolving with your cloud adoption journey and moving forward with it. On that note, I will hand it over to you, Firas, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Islam. Much appreciated, and a warm welcome to everybody. So a little bit about the presentation. I just want to set out some context about SecurityHQ, just so you can understand where we come from with respect to the webinar as a whole, our experiences, our knowledge, and where we come from. It's quite important that you understand that. So as a company, we are what's called a pure play managed security service provider. It's a big title, but let me explain to you what that is. So we monitor our clients' networks 24/7. And we do it globally around the world. And we do that via 6 security operations centers that are spread around different continents. It is backed up by over 260 skilled staff, and that skilled staff includes analysts, content managers, all the different types of services that we need. We do it 24/7. The technology stack we use is always Gartner Magic Quadrant top right. It includes tools such as IBM, Microsoft Sentinel, Digital Shadows, Resilient, multiple high-end enterprise-grade stacks. We process over 80 billion logs. We do that all through our tier 1 and tier 2 data centers. And we're actually a London-based company back in 2003. Why I mentioned the 2003? Because we're not a startup. We've been doing this for a long time. We go back to the original days of SIEM, and the original days of actually building SOCs. And we've taken that experience of the last 15, 16, 17 years, our staff that's grown with us, and we've learned how to do this sort of business. And within the ecosystem, apart from the alerting, the managing of the logs, but we also do the incident response, we do triaging, email notifications, reporting, content, use cases, vulnerability, firewall management. It's a whole ecosystem of what we do. Threat intelligence, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of stuff when I do that. Our team are highly certified. They go through the SecurityHQ Academy, and that builds us that. So the slide is not a marketing slide in the sense of look how good we are. It's just so you can understand the context of where we come from. The visibility we get is unprecedented in many ways. Very, very few organizations can match us on that because of the 6 global security operations centers, because of the different sectors and the teams that we build. So that's the context where this presentation comes from. Next slide, please, Islam. We have all seen the proliferation of devices. We've seen it, okay, in my lifetime, I'm a bit of an old man now, but it used to be 1 PC, then it went to 2 PCs, then it went to your mobile phone, then it went to multiple mobile phones. Then it's just gone a complete extension. But actually, we're just on the cusp of what's going to happen to the next evolution with IoT, okay? Now, basically the IoT, the Internet of Things, means that everything is going to be put onto the internet, right? We're already starting to see it. If you think about it, in your home, you used to have your one computer that you used to have upstairs in your study. Now it's actually grown into whether it's your kids' gaming machines, your phones, how you order your food, how you do your medicines online, some of you even do your dating life online. everything goes through multiple devices. The way we watch TV, the way we do entertainment, that's the same in industry. Everything is starting to happen for them online. They have diversified their network, not only just into the cloud, but they've actually diversified it with their supplier base, and they've actually lost quite a lot of control. And they're going to continue to lose more and more control. And what that means is that the threat surface, the attack possibility, is going up not twice as much, but exponentially as much. So we struggle to manage our own assets within our own IT. Plenty of our customers and clients are not even sure how many servers they have, never mind databases, sub-databases, what they're marketing. But then when you look at the proliferation of devices coming on, you can really understand how that's going to affect. And that's going from smart cities, schools, hospitals, etc., every industry. It's okay, Islam, next slide, please. And as I said, once you combine that attack surface rapidly increasing, and it is happening not in the future, I want to be very, very clear on that. It is happening now and here, because we've seen it. We've seen it in our own how we order, okay? The threat surface I mentioned goes up, but that's also combined with the attack complexities that we're seeing is exponentially going up. We're seeing more and more complex attacks. The days of simple port scanning and somebody getting lucky, those are history. That doesn't happen now. From the proliferations of the complexity of zero-day attacks, the ransomware, we're seeing that not once a month, every single day. And it's becoming easier and easier because the attack surface is getting bigger and bigger, okay? Then you also have the other problem of lack of skills, capability in resourcing those skills, bring them in-house, capability for the technology to catch up with that, the lack of automation as well, and actually there's just too many products, okay? So this is the real next challenge we're going to come to. It's already bad enough what it is, but the next challenge is going to get harder. Next slide, please, Islam. But let's all forget about that now for a second. Let's just go back to basics. We need to understand the basics because the basic problem, whether it was IoT or before, historical or now, is still the same. And we need all to be reminded of what we do. We need to follow a sort of principle you have, a guiding principle of what you're trying to achieve within your cyber ecosystem, okay, that will actually ask the right questions at the right time. So first of all, you need to have the capability to detect, all right? You can't do anything without the capability to detect, all right? You want to use the existing tools that you've invested, your antivirus, your IPS, your IDS, your firewalls, all the proliferation of the machines that you've actually invested in, and make sure that they're all connected and functioning correctly to give you the rapid speed of detection, okay? But you need to actually detect, not in hours or in days. You need to detect in seconds and in minutes. Islam, next slide, please, if you could forward on. That is the real key, okay? Then if you have the capability to detect, you must have the capability to respond, because there's no point detecting if you can't respond, okay? Again, you cannot respond in days and weeks. It must be in minutes and seconds, okay? Minutes and seconds. Your network and your internet's 24/7. And guess what? Nobody robs your home or your office. Well, very rarely when you're in the building. It's the same with your network. You have to have the capability of doing it 24/7. So you must have the capability to detect and respond 24/7, not just 9 to 5. And as I indicated in the previous slide, you also must have the human knowledge and the human capability to detect and respond to complex threats. Whether it is ransomware, 0 days, or whatever it is, you must have that complete capability within your team, all right? Skills, huge issue for every single company with all our global clients around the world. They just can't get enough of them. Again, they've got to be done 24/7, and they need to have a true understanding from all the different types of threats that they can see, both from a network, application levels, all those kind of things. again, the days of what we used to say, and senior managers would say, what we need is like a Swiss Army knife to a guy that can do all of that. I haven't found one in years. They don't exist. So stop looking for it. You're going to need to have different sections of capability within your team. Once you've got that side of the web, as I call it, there's no point having all of that. You still need to have the capability to understand the risk visualization. Now, what I mean by that, right? How does that affect my network, what we're seeing and detecting and responding to? What is the impacts? What are the risks? That needs to be formulated in a way that you can explain to senior management so they can take action and take the approvals that are required. It's really important you have risk visualization. Then a lot of you out there also have a lot of governance and security, compliance requirements. FCA if you're financial, government requirements, healthcare requirements, educational requirements. You must embrace those. You shouldn't fight compliance. You can actually turn compliance to actually do some real benefit to make sure you're getting the checks. But compliance is not enough. What you really need to have is a framework, an OLA, and an SLA. Okay, you need to have those in place as well. So whether you choosing to go with a MITRE ATT&CK framework, for instance, use that as those sort of protocols to take and mature your business, because your cyber journey as a network and as a business truly is a journey. Okay, it's from getting the tools, it's getting the people, getting the processes, getting the visualization, getting in the expertise, and also meeting compliance as well. Next slide, please, as I'm going to keep moving on. And last but not least is the cost certainty. Okay, we all have CFOs, we all have budgets, we all cannot run on unlimited taximeters. We get the bill and we hope it's not going to be too bad. That is basically as important as everything else, because you won't get buy-in from management if you keep flicking around with the costs all the time. So that is, I always remind myself when I go around the wheel, even when we're doing our own internal security at SecurityHQ, I ask myself, is this going to improve the response detection, all the people we bring in? Is it going to make things better? And I generally always go back to this original wheel. It is important you understand that, because the decisions you make should sit somewhere into improving one of these segments. Thank you, Azam. Next slide. Now, technology, and I know we're going to touch on Azure, Microsoft Azure a bit, later on, but it's only one part of it, okay? And this is the classic iceberg slide where I'm saying SIEM and respect is only one part of it. It is a very powerful tool that needs to be utilized in the right context. It needs to still have the people and the process wrapped around it 24/7, everything I mentioned previously. It will give you the capability to correlate, to alarm, set out all those different sections that a SIEM tool does. But it's like a Formula One car, incredibly well engineered and designed, but it needs a team around it to build it. So it's the SIEM, like all technologies, will only take you so far. It's how you sweat it and how you use it that will make the difference. Next slide, please. So when you're building a SOC, let me show you the layers that are required. The people, okay? So within SecurityHQ that I indicated, you have got SOC engineers, they're 24/7, content managers, L1s, L2s, L3s. The L1s are doing basically a lot of the white noise. They're generally only 2 years into the industry, and they're working their way up to becoming an L2 or an L3, or even an L4, which is quite rare. You have to have quite sophisticated mindset to do that. And then they need a cyber range as well. There's a whole training academy behind them to constantly improve their skills. It takes, to run a single SOC, you're looking at minimum 12 people for one client. And you're probably looking at minimum the expenditure of about $2 million alone. The people cost is actually the largest part of the cost when you're building a security operations center. Okay, and believe me, we know because we do it, all right? But that's one part. Then you have the process side, okay? The processes that we build, you can download them off Google, but they'll be completely rubbish because processes are built over time, over experience, It's the ones, and they are constantly being updated because the attacks are constantly being updated. Next slide, please, Islam. So the process is, you've got things like the log management. This is just an example. We have many, many processes. The playbooks, infrastructure products, the false positive handling, offense handling, intelligence handling, and forensics handling. That's just a couple of the processes. There are many, many processes that lead on from the use cases that you generate. Now, when you develop a process within a SOC environment, it's not a case of, it's not a movie. It's not, people don't think on the fly, just go for it. They follow processes. It's really important. No difference to two pilots on a Boeing or an Airbus plane. When they see an alarm, they reach for the manual and they follow a process. They don't say, let me try that, let's give that a go. It doesn't work like that. Like anything, there is a process written to go for it. All right. And only now do we talk about the technology piece. And to build a SOC, all right, you need multiple layers of technology. Next slide, please, Islam. So obviously we're going to talk about Microsoft Azure and the power of that, which is a major part of the technology things. But you also need the other technologies our clients are looking for. Some of the technologies they provide within their environment and some of them we bring, whether it is the SOAR, the intelligence, the data analytics, the UBA, the EDR, the sandboxing capability, all those technology stacks that's always changing is the cornerstone of it, overlaid by the processes, and then there's the people who run it. Okay, next slide. The next slide is the outcome slide. So back to that wheel I was talking to you about. The reason why you build it, rapid detection, rapid response, capability to handle complex threats, the UBA, and the risk visualization. Those are the outcomes. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to hand over to my colleague, and Islam's going to actually talk about managed Azure Sentinel in the context of what I previously spoke about, and is going to get into a bit more detail. Over to you, Islam.
Thank you very much, Firas. Thank you, everyone, so far for being with us. Let me switch on my camera. Perfect. So what we have discussed so far is obviously the challenges that the digital transformation brings to us, and the whole new exposure into a whole new threat landscape, and with the cloud adoption going from the trust to the untrust type of world, really. So and obviously the challenges and the burdens that leaves it stays with the security teams and how they need to tackle it, and the different capabilities of how we need to tackle this from a SOC perspective. So let's see now how Microsoft Azure Sentinel can help us with the overlay of our service expertise as a SOC provider in giving you the best single source of, I would say, of truth within your environment that can sit and give you the single pane of glass view into all of the different threats that sits within your environment, full visibility across of your cloud workloads, resources, SaaS-based applications, or even on-prem log sources as well, and keep monitoring your security posture 24/7 and having the instant response capability around it, augmented by our pool of 260 plus skilled security analysts. So moving forward, what does it offer? Just if we're gonna talk about Azure Security Sentinel very quickly, it's considered as a cloud native SIEM technology, which means that it copes with the elasticity model of the cloud and being very flexible, easy to scale, easy to spin up and get it configured within your environment, and fairly quick to integrate with your native Azure workloads and different E3 or E5 feature stack and so on. And also the ability to deploy syslog forwarders and for on-prem data collection and to collect data out of your cloud as well, and being able to correlate the different events coming from different log sources and having a single point of consolidation to understanding what's happening within your environment and the different type of threats whether they are known ones or unknown ones, and leveraging the different detection capabilities within Azure Sentinel that comes as part of it, like the analytic rules and the user and entity behavior analytics, in order to be capable of detecting various type of threats. Having the SOC feed, the threat intelligence SOC feed, constantly being fed into Sentinel in order to give us much more context around your content, and obviously getting our SOC team even to be much more smarter and taking their decisions and move quick in responding to threats based on the level of knowledge that we can establish within your environment, thanks to the native threat intel feeds and integrations that Azure Sentinel can provide as well. Moving forward into the investigation bit, which is the capability to perform a wide range of investigation, being able to establish a visual understanding of the whole different relationship between different incident objects and the communication between all of them and the different incident artifacts, and being able to visualize it all in front of you in a nice nodal graph. So extremely helpful in understanding quickly the relationships between different objects and understanding the entirety of a cyber kill chain for a different threat vectors and attacks, and being able to take the appropriate responses based on this, either manually or automatically, using the power of the SOAR and native integration, using the logic apps feature that comes as part of Azure Sentinel. And obviously, we do have a dedicated team who will always develop the content in terms of the playbooks for the logic apps, and obviously for the analytic rules and reporting for workbooks and so on. And then obviously the capability to respond, which I just explained, and then we move back into fine-tuning constantly any of the parsing, any of the deployed analytic rules, workbooks for reporting and all of that sort of stuff, and visualizations and dashboards, so that we can always improve the level of detection within your environment. It's a non-stop task and mission. And we, as a SecurityHQ, as a Microsoft service provider and a SOC provider, we will embark with you on this mission as well, in order to deliver this continuous element of enrichment and improvement to your deployed Azure Sentinel SIEM technology, and making sure that it's fit for purpose all the whole time, and it gives you the adequate level of visibility across your environment. And then if I move to the next slide, when we look into the power of having a SOC operation center like our side, getting plugged into the Azure Sentinel, leveraging Azure Sentinel, that gives us a great advantage in terms of visibility that can enable us to detect a wide range of threats, whether known or unknown threats, conducting irregular threat hunting as well, type of drills within the environment to look for early signs of malicious activities, powered by and augmented by the artificial intelligence in terms of the machine learning when it comes to detecting unknown threats and looking for insider threats, and how your users are dealing with your internal resources, and leveraging your Microsoft productivity stack and SharePoint and Teams and all of that sort of stuff, and looking into your privileged accounts, and leveraging the AI when it comes to the automated response using the power of SOAR and logic apps. Moving forward, in terms of the power of Azure Sentinel and what it brings to you on the table, it comes as part of your Microsoft Azure ecosystem. So it's part of your deployment. You can easily get it switched on, and you can try it and get some of the native Azure service-to-service integrations plugged in, so that you can get to see some of the events happening within your environment. And based on this, we can allocate the required detection rules and so on for the required 24/7 SOC monitoring. Azure Sentinel doesn't leave us with any shortage when it comes to visibility. It can integrate with the cloud-native workloads, any data coming out of your cloud, non-Azure related data as well, can integrate with third-party SaaS applications or on-prem log sources, having the AI in place like Fusion and user entity and behavioral analytics machine learning in order to augment the signature-based or correlation-based detection, and being able to detect unknown type of threats and living off the land type of attacks, and having the automation using the logic app functions and SOAR playbooks in order to automate the responses and being much more efficient when we respond to different threats, and improving the mean time to detect and mean time to repair, and making sure that we are hitting the required service SLAs in place as well, and the wide range of ecosystem and integrations that can be established thanks to the RESTful API integration and other capabilities as well. I will jump straight into the MDR framework and how we can deliver the SOC as a service powered by Microsoft Azure Sentinel. After going quickly through this slide, which explains to you how we as a SOC, as SecurityHQ, as your trusted security provider, would look into deploying the Sentinel and making good sense out of your log sources. So perfect, we do have a cutting edge SIEM technology, that's fine. But how we can best use it, that will be based on your assets, performing high-level asset profiling, identifying your critical assets, how they can help us from a visibility perspective and a use case detection perspective as well. So we leverage the NCSC SOC feed guidelines, which was issued like a couple of years ago, something like that, in which we look into your environment to understand your high critical assets and security controls that we need to onboard, and we get them mapped against the different pillars of visibility that we need to establish within your environment. And based on this, we will allocate the required use cases on top of what would be relevant to your Microsoft Azure license, whether it's an E1 or E3 or E5 license. So the different stages in which we go through the delivery of the service within your environment, will be looking into the data collection, first of all, looking for the quick wins, getting Sentinel up and running, making sure that we are agreed on an active subscription to host the log analytics workspace, which will be the back end of Sentinel, and making sure that it sits within a region where most of your assets will be located, so that you can avoid any kind of egress or cross-regional data communication charges, and also making sure that this log analytics workspace will be dedicated for ingesting security-related events only. And that will help, obviously, from a data retention perspective, and being very economic in how we can sustain using Sentinel for a long durations, 24/7, and looking for getting the Windows security events, the Microsoft Azure security stack in terms of Microsoft 365, and Defender for identity and Office 365, and for endpoints, the Azure AD audit logs and sign-in logs, integrating with the other third-party SaaS-based applications or cloud applications, and then looking into the integration with the on-prem log sources, using the syslog forwarders, leveraging the Azure agents in terms of the Microsoft Monitor agent or the log analytics monitor agent. And then based on this level of visibility, we will be able to establish the required level of data enrichment in terms of applying leveraging different data enrichment methods like business tagging against your asset criticality, understanding when the impact of specific server in your business, if it were to get caught with a specific threat within your environment, and the threat intelligence. And for that, we leverage a commercial grade threat intelligence. Reason being, open source threat intelligence just produces junk. We lose the whole point in having confidence in our incident response process, because it all pulls down into incident response and how we can be rapid with that incident response process. So that's why we keep investing a lot in the commercial grade intelligence. We leverage the Microsoft threat intel feeds that we can get, and also the Digital Shadows and IBM X-Force as a threat intelligence feeds, in order to enable our team to be much more smarter while they are responding to different threats, applying the required correlations in place, and then moving into stage number 3, which is switching on the user entity and behavior analytics in order to start to look into your baselining your environment, understanding your user behavior, normalize the user behavior against a specific baseline, from which, after the training period is done, after 4 or 5 weeks, we can then look into the anomalies and trying to understand exactly how your users' identities are being leveraged, how they are interacting with your internal resources and Microsoft stack in terms of SharePoint and Teams and OneDrive and other toolings as well, and making sure that we are capable of detecting the highly scripted and highly automated type of attacks that we won't be able to predict or detect using the analytic rules or the correlation rules in stage number 2, and obviously augment this level of machine learning for threat detection and insider threats by having the multi-stage attack detection fusion rule in place as well, and making sure that the relevant data connectors for it are all enabled and getting the adequate level of parsing and data out of it. And then we move forward into stage number 4, which is performing and conducting a periodic threat hunting drill. So we do have a dedicated threat hunting team, and their sole focus is to look for our customer environments as part of the eyes on the glass and perform an investigation and looking for unknown type of threats, early signs for malicious activity that would augment the machine-based detection, the correlation-based detection, and having more confidence into the alerts that we are producing, and obviously improving the deployed threat detection use cases as well. For that, we will leverage the Microsoft Azure Sentinel hunting dashboards, QKL queries, obviously, that we can leverage for such threat hunting exercises, and the SecurityHQ threat advisors as well. So as part of the service delivery, you will get a common threat advisors based on your own assets that will help us to know exactly what we need to look for within your environment if you do have any kind of vulnerability that can be exploited. So we can leverage this as part of our threat hunting activities. Then we move into stage number 5, where our 24/7, 260+ security analysts will be looking into all of the generated alerts, filtering any false positives, any noise, and making sure it's fully qualified events that goes into L3 and L4 for further investigation. Based on this level of investigation, we can give you the next actions and recommendations and actionable insights on how we can move forward for mitigating a specific threat within your environment or rectifying some misconfigurations that can be leveraged by any threat actor later on. And then we can start to look into threat containment. If we detected post-exploit type of threats, we can start to leverage the native Microsoft anti-malware type of features. And also we can leverage the power of the SOAR and logic apps in order to automate the response and orchestrate a response against multiple of security controls, as well for targeted and repetitive attacks like phishing campaigns and so on. And then moving into business intelligence and reporting, where we can give you a weekly SOC report that will cover different areas within your environment in terms of your regularity and compliance needs, your top talkers, and the different threats that we will be able to spot, and the threat advisors that will be relevant to your environment based on your own assets and the vulnerabilities that we are aware of them, so that we can always have this element of proactive security in place to mitigate any type of enablers of compromise before they get actually compromised by any threat actor or exploited in a malicious way. As part of the service as well, in order to help our customers to always be connected, you will have access to SecurityHQ IAM and mobile and the SecurityHQ Response mobile app. So web portal, mobile app access, so that you can have the SOC in your pocket literally to engage with our SOC team at any point in time, and being able to monitor your security posture as a single pane of glass view and see your top trending events and incidents and how we are handling them. And then obviously the long-term data retention, where we will make sure that we have the data retention in place, leveraging the log analytics data retention tables or Azure Data Explorer in order to archive any data beyond the specific hot data access, like let's say 90 days, we can get it archived for you so that it can be retained for longer periods of time in the most cost-efficient way, without incurring too much cost from the data retention over the cloud. And our data center in London, which is a Tier 3 certified data center, can always be leveraged to retain any of your required data as part of the service as well. So that we can help you with more flexibility in how we can host your data for any compliance requirements. In terms of the incident detection response capabilities, just a quick snapshots of our SecurityHQ incident management portal that you will be provisioned access to as part of the service, and our mobile app that comes very handy when bad things, as Faraz mentioned before, happens during awkward times when you try to go to bed and sleep at night. And then obviously the constant visibility and transparency of our service and giving you a weekly SOC reporting to get you up to speed in terms of where you are with your security posture, your top vulnerabilities and threats that exist within your environment, and how we need to deal with them in terms of any major incidents that we need to rectify them and as quick as possible, and keep improving your security postures through the constant reporting, weekly SOC reporting and monthly and executive SOC reporting. And you will have a dedicated weekly SOC report and a dedicated service delivery manager and an L3 analyst who will walk you through that weekly SOC reporting in order to bring it to your awareness what truly matters based on a qualified incidents and threats that we managed to detect within your environment. And at the end, obviously, with the different areas and deliverables of the service and the elements that we look to within your environment, we need to have the single pane of glass view, which is delivered through the incident management platform, which is equipped with a RESTful API to integrate with any third-party ITSM tooling that sits within your environment, and obviously can be exposed to with any kind of your cloud service providers or partners who will be maintaining the non-security aspect of your Azure cloud in terms of your infrastructure and keep expanding your cloud footprint. We will always be in touch with them and collaborating with them, obviously, in order to ensure that the security requirements are met and in place based on our level of visibility and continuous audit and monitoring to your environment in a proactive way. And on that note, I would like to actually invite you to have a 30 days of trial of our service, which is free of charge, where we can get you plugged into our SOC based on your Sentinel and look into your native integration, service-to-service integrations, and show you what we can do based on your Azure Sentinel and the level of visibility and that we can provide, and threat hunting that we can perform as well, and making sure that it's well optimized and fit for purpose for production purposes as well. Yeah, so I'm more than happy to receive any inquiries on this. And on that note, I would like to thank you very much for your time with us today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us directly. And all the best, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you.